Hi, this is Michael Waits, and welcome back to InsurTech Amplified. We are joined today by Onur Gungor, the founder and CEO at Allegory. As I was saying before, I love the t-shirt. At some point, maybe you'll get one. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming to the show. Before we get into the main gist of this, let's give our audience a little bit of your background for some context, please.
Of course. First of all, thank you so much for having me today. It's always a pleasure to see you, and I'm really excited for today as well.
Thank you.
Really briefly, my name is Onur Gungor. I'm the founder and CEO of Allegory. Born and raised in Turkey, I have had an interesting career path throughout my life. I was in military at some point. I was at the military academy. Then I realized it wasn't for me, so I wanted to jump into more maths and statistics. Then I became an actuary. Through that, I traveled around Europe, worked in multiple countries, and I finally landed in Canada almost 10 years ago. And started my first task in Canada was to help found an insurance company on behalf of a Dutch insurer. And from there, I was like, maybe I need to bring this actuarial science more on the entrepreneurial spirit. So pretty much that's where we are at the moment.
Was entrepreneurialism always something you thought you were going to do? I mean, you said you started in the military, so maybe it was not even top of mind. But in the back of your head, was it always like, maybe I'll work for a big company or work for the military or do something, but I have this itch to have my own thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I think my main drive at the time, because that was early in, I had my high school and a little bit of the first university part in the military academy. But at the time, my main drive was like, okay, I'm going to be a jet, like a pilot for a jet,
right.
In the army
jet,
side.
Yeah.
And fighter jet. Yes. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was pretty much the drive. And you can imagine like in a plane and imagine like you are riding that jet. So it gives you like a lot of power and way of thinking. So I think it's really close to the entrepreneurship as well, because you're an entrepreneur for a reason. You need to break things, make things, but ultimately you're just building something generational. And I think those feelings are quite the same. Like you're not doing this for anything material. It's just your fulfillment and be happy and make other people happy as well. It's always like both ways. So that's pretty much like how I started and always had this spirit in me. But yeah, I mean, time changes. Sometimes it puts you where you feel you belong to, but then you realize maybe it's not for you.
Yeah, I get it. It's funny, right? Entrepreneurship seems like this really sexy thing you do to make a lot of money. But in reality, I like the way you're covering your cup up, by the way. But in reality, you're really just trying to make change. And you're trying to make change at scale. And that seems like something that you're actually really trying to do. You've been doing an ongoing series of posts, right, about Allegory in the context of bringing artificial intelligence or bringing AI to insurance. You've been doing day 1, day 2, day 3. You must have, I don't know how many of these posts you're going to do. But these seem to be like some of the big salient points that you want to make. So maybe you can just start by running through some of what some of these points are and why this is so important to you. And this overall idea of like, why do we need to have artificial intelligence be such a big part of the insurance value chain?
Yeah. So pretty much this ongoing series specifically is like a realization of me, like it's the better way to explain what AI or machine learning in general to just the average people. Because when we are so involved in insurance or mathematics, actuarial science, we always think that other people also have the same mindset. So when I first started this working with the AI specifically last year, when I also, maybe it's good to clear at the beginning. So when I say AI, it's I'm usually mentioning about the machine learning models, but specifically the transformer technology, because people tend to use AI for anything. I think a few days ago I saw like a AI powered screen protector. I was like, what is it?
What is that? What is that?
Either it was a joke or it could be also a thing, because where there's a goal, like there will be always like a the shovel sellers. So
Exactly.
it's pretty much the same thing, but I'm specifically talking about the GPTs. So last year, I realized that by using these AI tools, the insurance would be in a situation that pretty much we can automate a lot of backend office tasks. So then I started building an infrastructure based on this machine learning models. But when I started explaining this to people, including my family, my friends, because I realized this is going to be something transformative,
Yeah.
they didn't have the image I had in my mind. So a few after try and errors, I come up with this idea like launching various series about the AI and how we can specifically apply this to insurance. It pretty much started with this trial maybe three weeks ago, because up until now we have trained our models to function in P&C insurance, more like a personal lines or commercial lines. And ultimately, what it means for insurance is that we can autonomously underwrite any P&C product, whether it's pricing side, whether it's the document generation, whether it's claims handling. So just imagine an established insurance company. So we can pretty much automate 85% of all the operations that runs an insurance company with AI. So after that, we wanted to try something interesting in reinsurance, because one of the things was like that we see technology advances exponentially. In the same sense, we also see it in the risk market, the capital market as well. So everything is just becoming so exponentially increased. And it's like, if we can make this for insurance, can AI actually make a reinsurance for us? So we pretty much prepared the script to ask our model. The model worked for roughly 15 minutes nonstop, and it created like a full stack reinsurance platform for us. So this is a process in current world, maybe takes 5 years, involving 30 engineers, an upfront investment of 25 to $30 million. A lot of going back and forth, stress. Some people leave, new people come, but this is like a 5 years, and for many people, it's their lifetime. I have just witnessed for 15 minutes nonstop machine generated an MVP product for reinsurance. This is just insane, and I still can't comprehend it, even if I am one of the creators. So
let's back up for a second, if you don't mind,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Because there's a lot going on here. You
Yes.
said like you were trying to explain to your friends and family, your mom and your dad, your brothers and your sisters,
Yep.
whatever, this image you had in your mind. What was that image you had, right? And you want to break this up into two pieces, right? Because first you talked about insurers and automating all the tasks there. Maybe you can dig down a little bit deeper there. Like, what was the image there that you had? And tell me what happens to the other 15%, because you said 85% can be automated.
Yep.
How does the other 15% change the way it gets addressed from it is today? Because if you're automating 85% of it, that means that a lot of the stuff that people that were working inside of traditional or incumbent insurance companies were doing, it's not just like you take one task and 85% of it is done, right?
Yep.
And then 15% is left over for a human to do.
Exactly.
It's the full value chain that says, in bits and pieces, adding it all up, 85% you can automate, but you still have to have inputs from humans in the middle in some place. So what does that look like in detail, if you don't mind?
Yeah, of course. So from a technical standpoint, I'm pretty strong on the abstract mathematics. So when we are building like the axioms or the fundamental hypothesis around this mathematical theorems, it's almost like understanding the function chain. So that really helped me to build like what is the correct function chain in an insurance company. And that really requires you to start thinking from first principles. And when I say first principles, it's not like a piece of paper. It's just, where does paper come from? What's the soil? What's the tree? What's the seed? What's the humidity? What's the current condition? So it's pretty much when we say first principle thinking, this is what we mean. A few years ago, I was working on a project, and I explained this to, maybe he's also going to watch this, but it's a funny story. I explained this to one of the delivery managers, like the impact of policy effective date. So it's simple. It's a date. You choose something, and many people say, okay, how could it be complicated? So first thing, I live in Ontario, and Ontario has 2 time zones.
Okay.
Like 1 state and 2 time zones or province. So are we going to use real time for the policy date? If yes, how this is going to impact our time zones? Then how is it going to impact our different products? Underwriting changes. Are we going to put only the dates or also the hours on the policy document? So there is like a whole chain, and this is only for the policy effective date. And in insurance, there are thousands of policy effective dates. So pretty much the abstract mathematics together with the LLM, these large language models, helped me to create this function at an incomprehensive way, so that I built my own synthetic universe that let's create a perfect insurance company. It can write anything you want on land, on air, or water. So let's design a digital world in a synthetic way. So that was the mathematical foundation I had built. And that was the image. So the image was like, imagine a billion times billion matrix. So that was in my mind. And I used LLM to pretty much like build as a jigsaw puzzle. And one piece was just doing the claims. The one piece was doing like the claims. But everything pretty much comes from the data point. So the starting point was, if there is a risk, the risk could happen on land or water or air. What are the things happening in land? What are the things happening on water? So pretty much like when you direct AI specifically, it can create, okay, on the land, you can have this risk. For this risk, you can have this perils. In order to cover these perils, you can combine this coverages. This is like an entire workflow. But ultimately, it made me realize that let's build these different agents, the AI agents, and combine all these agents so it will create like a workflow. And in your sense, it's not like take a slice from a company and this is automated, this is not automated. It's never the case. When you issue a policy, that policy touches pretty much everyone at the organization.
Yeah.
Claims, pricing, underwriting, capital management, payments, PDF generation, Curalator, if you're sending it, if you need to print and send it, like there are a lot of things to consider. And one thing AI is really good is this: just if you know what you know, it can do the rest for you much faster. So that was pretty much my discovery, and hence the automation process. The remaining 50% is pretty much the same workflow, but more complicated cases. So the reality of the insurance is we cannot automate everything. And I'm saying this because I put myself as a customer.
Right.
I always imagine myself is like, if I'm in a car accident, would the first thing I want to get like an AI bot or someone that really understands my pain?
Right.
So that's the part of the compassion. We can automate everything. We can just create millions of simulation to find the best creativity. But the compassion is a different thing, and it's a human thing. So in insurance, we need to keep the compassion. It's not just the black and white. I'm saying this as an actuary.
Yeah, but it's a really important point to make, though, right? Because at the end of the day, you're right. Whether it's I want to change my flight, or I want to love it, or I want to understand some stuff inside my policy, or you're right, I get into a car accident and I want somebody not who's also been in an accident, but somebody who also understands like what pain is.
Exactly.
Can understand like I need to help this guy because I understand what it feels like to be in a little bit of a panic, and that needs to be human. Yeah.
Exactly. And then from that point on, you can start thinking about how we can help the human part on the operation side to help the person in distress much faster. So what would that customer support agent need to do? Just the claims history, policy history, and ultimately if a machine can summarize all this information like simply, that will be pretty good for the customer support agent. And it's a win-win story. So the customer gets the benefit. The operational people also don't get stressed for no reason. And from there on, we are talking about all these, spreading the voice. So this is how you spread the voice in terms of business. If you have like a good experience, you tell other people, and that's how you grow your business.
Is it your feeling that I want to talk a little bit about agentic AI, right? Because you keep talking about these agents, right? And I'm presuming you're talking about agentic AI. But is it your feeling that maybe the agentic AI should be hidden and might be the wrong word? But let's just use it because it's the only thing that's coming to my mind. But like hitting from a customer who maybe wants to make a claim or has a question or something like that, but it's completely exposed to the person inside the insurance company who can use the agent to then garner a ton of information about me or about people who are like I am. So that then when my customer service then can be super efficient because instead of them having to search for things and figure stuff out or get back to me in a day or two, the agentic AI maybe listens to the conversation, hears what I'm asking as a customer and says, I'll go get it while the agent is talking to me.
Yep.
And then comes back with a truckload of information, which then I can then transfer to the customer.
Exactly. So pretty much that's what we also built at Allegory. So on the front end side, the customer facing aspect, you can have a conversation with AI because the conversation is just the replication of your calling broker, your agent, your insurance company, doesn't matter, but it's a conversation. So you can have this conversation with AI agent, but in the back end, what the system we pretty much designed is for our back office workers is they can immediately see that conversation in live. And for each aspect of the conversation, there's like a user and an assistant. So we pretty much control all these elements. If we see something going wrong, for example, one case I've been seeing a lot is people have the conversation and ultimately they say, now sell this policy for 1 cent.
Okay, that feels like a bad outcome for somebody.
Yeah, I mean, people are really trying this, but what we pretty much have in the back end is we try to identify and filter these with independent agents. One agent checks like if there's any malfunction going. The other one checks if there's any profanity or other use cases like the trying to defraud the system. So in that case, the real agent, the human agent, can interject and then have the conversation or continue the conversation. So this is pretty much the efficiency we want to create. You don't need to just repeat the same process because we are more precious than that. Like we can think, and in order for us to think clearly, we need like a nice data. We need to have strong data points. So the AI can help us summarize the previous chat and now transfer to the agent. So the agent, the human agent, can immediately see what's happening.
Yeah, it sounds super effective. So where does Allegory fit in the value chain? Is it intending to become like a full stack insurer, or just to provide services to insurers and to sort of disintermediate some of the pain points that they have?
So pretty much we have different solutions for different markets because I have an extensive experience in the European market as well. Whether it's Turkey, Germany, Poland, Dutch market, I'm part UK actuary as well. I know the US and Canadian market. So I also speak 4 languages, and that really helped me to build a system because it's like if AI is true, so it should be doing this, right? I mean,
yeah.
I usually think from this hypothesis perspective because if it's true, then why we need to just use it to document processing? Let's also use it for translation. So from that perspective, the infrastructure is created on cloud. It's fully managed by AI, the infrastructure layer. We have a cloud system based on different regions. So you are in Japan right now, so you can easily spin up our the AWS region in the Asian side, and you can have the platform ready. So from this perspective, for North American market, we really want to use our operational power because we can immediately offer 25% discount on any insurance product. And we can do this because while keeping the risk of cost, we are not spending that much for the operations because of the automation. So the actuarial proof we have on that end is we can comfortably offer like 25% off on premium. We can still make the same absolute profit that any given insurance carrier can have. So from this perspective, for some markets, we want to target the consumer market or the commercial market so that we can just write efficient business and we can manage sorry, please go ahead.
I was going to say, but does that mean you're an MGA? Like, so you're actually writing your own policies. Where do you get the capital from to underwrite this stuff? Where does the capacity come from?
The capacity part is like right now we are in talks with 2 carriers. So we are going to leverage their dormant licenses. And that's pretty much like an entry. So they will provide the capital. We are providing the infrastructure, and then we are going to operate under our brand. It's because in one aspect is like, again, if AI is true, making this solution and implementing an existing company, it's not going to work. I'm just like saying this. People can spend money on this. They can fail, but I am confidently say this. It's not going to work. Because when you think about an existing organization, it's not just a technology, and technology is the easy part. It's more like getting people on that.
Yeah,
understanding the mindset.
Like, can we really do this? Yeah,
exactly. But more importantly, how the information flows within the organization. And many times it's really, really slow. So by the time you start actually seeing some results, you're already too late. Or if you are bringing this type of technology to an existing company, it's just the economics, right? I mean, at one point you cannot try to reduce your operational expenses and keeping it at the same time. You can't do this. So that means like you need to lay off people. And that's also not a nice thing for me. So what I'm pretty much like really rooting for is this has to be a standalone product. And we're not here to, make people obsolete. It's just to present millions of other consumers to much better solutions in terms of like their risk, much affordable solutions, because this is the only way to sustain this insurance business. And we can also talk about this more general stuff, but this is pretty much what I believe.
So so you said you're very familiar with the European markets, right? And with the North American markets. So with Canada, the United States, those markets are, what's the right way to say this? They're heavily insured, right?
Yes.
There's plenty of room for growth for innovative companies for sure. But do you take a look at Asia and think it's just completely greenfields in the sense that there's just the protection gap is massive.
It is massive, yes.
It's just massive. And in places like India and Indonesia and the Philippines, in Thailand, not so much, right? In Thailand, actually, the insurance market's very well advanced. But even in Malaysia and some of these other Asian countries, right, Vietnam, it's just the insurance penetration is still super low. Do you see the possibility for a company like Allegory to say, we can spin this up an AWS instance of this, we can translate it into Vietnamese, we can do it into Thai or into Bahasa Indonesia, and spin this up really quickly? Does that look like a big opportunity, or is it something you guys are considering?
Absolutely. And matter of fact, it's my promise here. So it's May 22nd. So next week, in 7 days, I will choose a language of any Asian country. I will make that happen for you. Okay. In 1 week. That's my promise. So that's definitely a yes, because again, if AI is true, all these operational things can be done by AI and then reviewed quickly by a human. So this is pretty much how we structure the entire infra. And to your point, one challenge in developed market is that premium growth only comes from like a premium increase. So it's not like more people are buying more insurance. It's just like an increase. So that's
premiums, if you increase premium prices, then obviously the premiums increase. But in a place like Vietnam or even in Indonesia, the premium increases come from more penetration and more people actually buying insurance policies.
Exactly. So the AI can help us to make this grow in a more sustainable way. We can set up like a premium levels in a way to increase that penetration, because ultimately the insurance is all about like creating a pool large enough so you can pay out the claims. And for these type of risks, I said it wrong. For these type of markets, like the growing markets, AI has the massive opportunity because we can do it in a sustainable way. more like clean slate operation.
So what do you do when you look at markets out here, or even just like less developed markets anywhere in the world? I mean, we haven't even mentioned Africa, right, as well.
Mm-hmm.
But your access to financial data and traditional data that would help you mitigate or understand risk is just different, if that makes sense, right? So we've been writing insurance policies in the United States for centuries, the same thing in Canada, the same thing in Europe, 300, 400 years, right? So we have all this data that's available, but that's relevant to these societies there. How do you get the right amount of data and then do the right amount of machine learning in a place like, in a continent like Africa or in a country like Indonesia, where people's connectivity, even just to the financial system, is limited, much less their connectivity to insurance? Like, how do you accommodate all of that stuff?
Yeah. I think one of my, maybe the nice thing I have is my actuarial degree. So it's like the whole actuarial science is based on data set. And many people say it's data, but within the data, we have different layers. There are primary factors, there are secondary factors, and there are tertiary factors. So it's really easy to get the tertiary factors. Your age, your gender, but if I look at you, I can have like a basic sense of it. So when a lot of developed markets mention about data, this is the data they have. So tertiary, at best, the secondary. When we are talking about the primary risk factors, for example, how you drive your vehicle is a primary risk factor. If you are using your mobile phone and at the same time you're slashing the brakes, you're a bad driver. Like, there's no question about that.
Yeah.
And I don't really care if you're 70-year-old, if you're a 15-year-old, or 16-year-old. It doesn't matter, because you're a bad driver. So this is pretty much the stance we are taking. Where available, we use tertiary factors. In a sense, like OpenAI, download the entire internet, right or wrong, garbage or perfect, start finding some information from there, or get these primary information. For example, in Africa, we can still say people drive. They still have mobile phones. They can just drive for a week. We have the data. So collecting data now is the easiest part. And by understanding this first principle, because they will never change, if you are doing this without any external education, or like external the intrinsic or extrinsic kind of like the value. So without doing any extrinsic stuff, you will never change your behavior. You are going to be a bad driver. So in markets that we don't have no data, we can still have some starting points, whether it's telematics, whether it's any IoT devices, whether it's just the generic the pension related stuff. We can use satellite imagery now much efficiently. So data, I'm also saying this to people, like, you have always hung up on the wrong aspect. Data is, you can collect data. Just look outside. It's everywhere is data.
Right.
And you can collect it. So pretty much data is not the point, is how you use that data, how you understand it, or connect the dots. So there's always like a starting point, but now the starting point doesn't need you to take a few years. You can just make it in 2 weeks.
What happens to actuaries then? In other words, if you're building out this business that's going to get really large, right? That's going to fill some of this protection gap or close some of this protection gap. Obviously, for more sophisticated policy underwriting, you'll have actuaries doing this stuff. But I presume if you're underwriting policies and building new products, some human at some level is going to have to check just to make sure that everything's okay. Yeah?
Yeah, exactly. So that's a tough question, honestly, because one of my realizations last year was, like, again, as an actuary, I was asking the actuarial question to the machine, and the responses was like, shoot, this used to take 3 months of my time, and now the machine is just doing it in 5 minutes. The worst 2 hours. Okay, let's give it a more maybe some sophistication, 5 hours. It's definitely not 3 months. And that's the moment I realized, well, I'm going to lose my job. Someone is just going to replicate me. That's pretty much like how I started also learning coding as well, and understanding more the AI. But yes, a lot of things will change. But one thing will never change is the knowledge and the creativity part. So I have this saying is like, you can replicate knowledge. That's pretty much what all these companies are doing. But the creativity aspect is 100% random. It's not binary. It's just like, in order to create something fundamental, you need to create a lot. One thing is like, back in the days, they ask Michelangelo is like, how did you create this? You're famous. I just chipped away all the stones that do not look like David. So
Right.
it's pretty much like that. So you need to try a lot of things. So one thing absolutely ultimately makes sense. So AI helps that. In terms of these professions, like knowledge heavy professions, we are going to need more knowledgeable people. So data handling, the modeling part, like everything is done by machine, but that creation process and the review process, we still need human. So someone can make like a decision.
I want to ask you this as well, and only because it's top of mind for me.
Yes, please.
I don't know if it was last night or the night before, but my business partner and I were on a call with each other. We're just like catching up. And we were just having a conversation about this thing or that thing or some other thing. And then something popped onto my screen and we talked about that a little bit. And then the two of us had this kind of serendipitous creativity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We're like, these 3 or 4 things came together that didn't seem like they were related to each other. And we were like, wait a second. I think we've just come up with a new product.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't even intend during that conversation to come up with a new product.
Yep.
And that's really serendipitous, right? You know what serendipity is, yeah?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
how
yeah.
do you, can a machine do that today, right? Can agentic AI do that today? Like be involved in a 2-way or a 3-way conversation and then come up with a creative idea and make a decision about it in the same way that my business partner and I did last night or the night before? Or does that also require humans? Because you're right, you can get all the data, you can get the knowledge that already exists. That's easy. That's super easy, right? But the knowledge that doesn't exist already, can you create new things, you think, in a way that is serendipitous, which is the way most innovation happens anyway, yeah?
Yep, exactly. We have this terminology in actuarial science, is like actuarial intuition. And it's also a valid thing in like when you're talking to the regulators, you can kind of like get around like, that was my intuition. Same thing. So yes, machine can do that, but machine will decide on these type, because pretty much like we have all the agentic AIs, they form like a workflow. So pretty much it can run itself right now. But the main problem is, at the time it makes that decision, it's the best decision it can come up.
At that time, though, yeah?
At that time. And
right.
That decision is the machine's decisions. So it made the decision because it thought this was the perfect idea. But the decision could be like, let's build a gun and start killing people. Well,
right.
that's also a decision.
Which is a bad idea.
Which is a bad idea, but it's still a decision point. So we still need people with intuition, so that what that means as an end result.
Right.
We will never able to replace that.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Because it's just like, when you think about the knowledge or information creation, which is another science growing lately with after this European Mind project, like a lot of findings from that European Mind project was like, how we create information, how intelligence is being formed. And pretty much we realized that any machines, any form that can process information can be intelligent. But what it means for the next phase is always like the creativity and the intuition part. It's just a lot of options out there, and we always pick the right option that feels right at the time. So pretty much what happened to you is that you had millions of observation throughout your lives, But at that moment, it just made sense. And
yeah, just an interesting concept to think about. Can we do this too? We've spent a lot of time talking about process automation, automating a whole bunch of things using agentic AI. But I interrupted you kind of at the beginning of this conversation when you started talking about reinsurance.
Oh, yeah.
What is the implications? Let's spend a few minutes talking about this too. What are the implications here for the stuff that Allegory is building in the reinsurance market?
Yeah. So in the same sense, like the way we communicate people is just like getting much faster and faster. So this pretty much like an exponential increase. And now, especially on the insurance and reinsurance aspect, it's more like maybe in the past an insurance company could sustain its financials by just insuring a certain location. So renewing that portfolio, because the risk is, especially in life insurance, there's this phenomenal say, in a given society, the rate of cancer will never change because there are some societal aspects that drives your exposure to the cancer. So this is the phenomena in life insurance. That's why for life insurance companies, it makes them more profitable the more people they underwrite. Because if you have like, it's the same thing, but in PNC it doesn't work like that. So the more people, it doesn't mean like you're gonna make more profit. But in life, you can access this. So in the same sense, now the risk is, because the idea back then was like risk is more localized, so we can just manage this portfolio. But now we understand that risk is not localized. There is like a whole atmosphere on top of us for the past billions of years, and that actually changes things. And now we are also manipulating the dynamics of this millions of years of the formation. So we don't know what is going to impact and how it's going to impact. So from a risk standpoint, and especially on the reinsurance side, we really need to understand more on the mass changes on the environment, because the reinsurance is not like a 1-2 year business. It's more like the long term decisions on the capital markets. So based on the current knowledge, we really can't predict this, because the hurricanes are getting tougher. The other natural disasters are getting stronger. The earthquake, now we are understanding more about earthquakes, because the periods of earthquakes, for example, Istanbul, in Istanbul location, the period of earthquake is 1 in 250 years. It's like 5-6 generations, but it has been happening for the past 13 million years. And what about the fault lines that we have never ever, like, for example, in America, maybe there's a fault line that happens every 1,000 a year. So we just don't know that, like, because we were not here 1,000 years ago, or we didn't have, said it wrong, we didn't have the technology to understand that, or seismic changes. So these are the things now the AI can help us to understand better. And my guess is probably in 10 years, the reinsurers will become more like the current insurers. So they will start underwriting much more risks in terms of like the collections of risk, rather than the individual ones, because otherwise, in terms of monetary, we won't be able to sustain this. There are also other dynamics we need to understand, specifically the pension part or the aging population. We live longer, that's good, but who is going to pay the pension? That's also another thing. So everything in the financial markets is pretty much connected to each other, including, and reinsurance is pretty much the ultimate one in the insurance in industry. So this is pretty much like what I expect to happen in the 10 years. Like the reinsurers will become more like the insurers, and there will be, of course, consolidation.
So where else can, and maybe I'll let you go after this, although the conversation's super interesting to me, but where else can Allegory's technology be used that's not, or that's either tangential or outside of the insurance space, right? Because you've built something that sounds like it's pretty powerful. Can it be adapted to like stock trading or to other types of finance?
Yes. I think one of the power we have in the platform is we pretty much captured all the capturable data points. Like again, starting point was like if there is a risk, land and water, and then it stems from there. Literally millions of different simulations. So in that sense, we can definitely apply this to stock markets, which is on the plan. Another outside of the platform is like probably you are familiar with the tools like Cursor, the software development tools, and they're so pretty much I started this whole AI project at the same time the Cursor they did. I already had my internal Cursor before they had the investment.
They released it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've actually just so you know,
yep.
We've actually built our own AI tools as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. We haven't rolled them out to anybody else except ourselves, but we built an entire suite of AI tools. Sorry, go ahead.
Exactly. So pretty much like, yes, there are tools like Cursor or the Windsurf to help accelerate, but I have been doing it since the inception of this AI project because otherwise it's impossible.
Right.
Also, that really helped me to create like a much more cleaner code base. Like aside from the data aspect, that's also another thing. Like eventually someone needs to read that code. And they need to understand. This is another angle that we can create much cleaner code. Of course, we are not going to open AI chat and just having a chat. So we are way beyond that. By doing that, you can create a software that works on your local machine. But if you want to make it like a cloud-based infrastructure, security stuff, that's a whole different profession. But in a tangential way, that's the way how we can create software like even 1,000 times faster and better. Reinsurance, it took us 15 minutes to build the MVP reinsurance. It took me 2 days to review the code, but it took machine to build it in 15 minutes, and I didn't make any change. The end result was, I think it generated like 120,000 lines of code, just code, no packages, nothing. It's just pure JavaScript, Python, CSS, Terraform, and shell scripts. That's 15 minutes.
That's amazing. But what does your customer base look like? In other words, if you had an ideal customer in North America, who would it be? And has Allegory been out there long enough to actually have customers that are using the technology?
So we pretty much launched the AI code engine earlier this year. We also have we are making it really clear, like we do not have the license right now, but people still. So we have an established SEO, so people still find us. But we started this, let's say February 1st, the AI code engine, and up until now we have issued like close to 700 codes, just fully AI generated. All AI managed. And from that angle, I can confidently say that's like less than 1% operational expense. So generating 700 codes roughly equates like $3 million GWP had we had license. But 3 million GWP at 1% operational expense, I personally have not ever seen. Have you ever seen something like that?
No, that's why I'm asking. No, I have not.
So that's one of the aspects, like we are still learning because again, we keep seeing people like sell me this for 1 cent. So we still need to learn a little bit. That's why it's running. The other aspect, right now we are actually working with a few clients on the enterprise side. 2 of them are in Turkey. There will be 2 in US as well. So what they are pretty much doing is we have 50 AI agents. And sometimes people ask, why do you need so many AI agents? Because not everyone knows everything. So some people just know their area quite well, but I mean, document generation could be like outside of their stuff. So they can use AI agent just specifically for document generation. So they don't need to write, now create me a PDF, look like this, look like that. So it's time consuming. So we have like templates. One company is, for example, what they are considering right now is, okay, we are going to get this 10 AI agents. Interestingly, one of them is AI actuary. The IT team wants to use our AI technology officer. Also, the data science team wants to have our data analyst and code analyst tools. So pretty much the starting point usually for the companies is, let's get this 10 AI agents for 10 people. And it's just like a monthly electricity bill for us. So it's just a productivity suite. At that point, they don't need to make any integration at all. The data is theirs. We never ever sell that data. That's number one. We never do that. We never train data on customer input. And I can confidently say it's one of the most secure system we have ever built in the infrastructure side. So even I can't see anything, like everything is just encrypted, or it's just like in the backend side, or it's just like random gibberish. So there are a lot of things that even sending data, receiving data, most of the time we just don't see anything at all. But the machine has the algorithm to encrypt and decrypt without anyone seeing it. Another use case is like we have this suite of APIs. They can easily integrate one aspect of their insurance business. So, for example, we have this AI agent they can put on their website, and they can just use it as an SDK solution. It's really like I know all the problems in the insurance industry, so I started from there. What didn't work in the past was my starting point. And that starting point comes from like I built an insurance company, only insurance in the past. There are a few other companies I was involved like in the building phase. So I have this unique experience. I usually tell people that I had the opportunity to see what didn't go well. And in my opinion, that's the best knowledge and you can ever have, because
what
the adverse effect, and everyone knows what needs to be done. But the main thing is what you shouldn't do.
I got it. Okay, look, I'm going to let you go. Onur Gungor, the founder and CEO at Allegory. This has been really fascinating for me. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much.